Okay. All right. So it's 11:01. Do we want to get started, Scott, or?
I think we have a quorum, so I think we're okay. So yeah, let's start the meeting. So you know that this is being recorded, and that the recording will be available to you and other shareholders that didn't make it to the meeting. And then when we have to do a vote, we'll do it by a poll. You'll see a poll come up on your screen, and you can click on your choice of voting. Jana's controlling that. Jana's 2 stories up in our house here in her office. She's got her background picture there, Vineyard 1869, and the vineyard behind that, or beyond that, is the Spinetta Vineyard. So so this is how we do our Zoom events. And when Gavin Newsom shut down the state March 17th last year, Jan and I said, oh man, we've got 4 tasting rooms that are creating a lot of money for us. We've got to figure out some new ways to make money. And so immediately we switched to virtual tastings, and this is the setup that we do. I sit in the wine cellar down in the basement of this house and get to talk and tell stories and drink with all the little boxes on my computer. And Janet does all the work upstairs with 2 computer screens and, you know, bringing up slides and so forth. So it's been a good revenue source. We've done them not only in the United States, but also in Germany. One of the companies had a German division, and they when they found out I had gone to school in Germany and spoke the language, they immediately set up a Zoom event in Germany. So we shipped the wine to Germany, they paid for it, and then they split it up, and then they had their wines just like I have them set up here. And we did the whole thing in German. It was surprised that a lot of young people were surprised. A lot of them didn't know even how to speak the wine talk in German. The German has 3 different words for the article the, and that Riesling is masculine and Gewürztraminer is feminine. These guys didn't know that, but and you'd wonder why one grape variety would be one and one would be the other. But anyway, it's been fun, and it's generated a lot of money. Sometimes we did 4 a day, and you know, generating $16,000 a day. So that as you can see from our financials, that really helped out. So let's go on to the meeting. That we'll have roll call will be, I guess, done by going back and looking at the copy of the video, and we can put all that down. And then so the first order of business is to approve the minutes from last year's Zoom meeting. And so is there hopefully you've all read them, they were sent to you. And is there any questions on the minutes, or? Okay.
I move they be approved.
Second.
Okay, so let's see. Bill, were you the second?
Rand.
Oh, Rand second.
Okay.
And who was the first?
I was Scott Dick.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
First, Dick. Okay, great. So go ahead and click your answer or on the poll there, and then submit it. And then Jen will let us know.
Okay, we have. Oh, I didn't submit mine. All right. Sorry. I'm not sure even how to do my own. All right. Well, I don't know if they have the operator allowed our room for 'em. But anyway, it's a quorum. It's 14 out of 15, and I guess I'm the one.
And you're the
Okay.
All right.
And then we'll move on to the next item. Sally, it doesn't really like being first. And I know that, Jana knows that, but for some reason we put her first. But we're gonna go we're gonna go to, it's nice to have more fun news first, which is not just dry
Well, the
financial.
financials are fun this year.
Yeah, they are.
So that's what I said.
But Jana's sales and marketing is going to go first, and then we'll go into financials. So Jana's sharing her screen. Now, your little boxes that you're seeing on your screen, you can move those around. If you want to move them to the top of your screen, just click on them and move them up or down or around if or over a little, if they're in the way of what you're looking at.
Okay, so we have lots of things to tell you about. Okay, so this is our actual sales to forecast. And we still have not reached that elusive 2 million. We keep as much as we've tried. So we're for sure going to hit it this year. So that is a done deal. We're so far ahead of last year. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on last year because we're just happy it's over, and we're happy we survived, and we survived with the 70,000 revenue increase for the sales of the wines. So that was a relief. And one of the more interesting things about it is the way from the year before. What happened was the percentage of the sales channels, how they reversed. In last year in 2020, you could see how the sales for the tasting rooms went down to 39% from 52. The wine club went up to 25%. Look at we almost over doubled the e-commerce. E-commerce was incredible. Distribution was a little down, and then we also now have a whole new channel, the virtual tastings channel. So things changed around a lot. So now we'll go on to this year, because and we'll show you that this is through May, and the channel distribution is back up to having a lot in the tasting rooms, back to 43%, and the wine club is growing, and the distributor wholesale is also growing, getting back up to the 2019, and that so that's going to be a big portion. You can see e-commerce just has really fallen off the cliff, but we're glad everybody just wants to be out. So we're thrilled that people are back visiting us. And then I thought this was interesting. This is our revenue by product, January to May through the last 3 years. And you can see Reserve Barbera has really jumped. It's huge. It's our so much our top seller. And if we included the toy Barbera in that, it would be, off the charts. So that's really been doing well. This was a surprise. The winemaker reserves in, and all of a sudden that came into second place. We just ran out. We're very close to running out of the 2018 vintage. And so we did a last call, e-commerce last call, and it's been the best promotion we've done so far this year. We had a lot of people coming back after that. So that wine is becoming extremely popular. There's Vineyard 1869, and then the Toy Barbera, as I mentioned. So look at the growth on our Tickle Me Pink. That is really going up. It'd be a lot higher even if we weren't out of it for 2 months. People came to the winery at the end of last year when we were able to open. They were like in tears that we were out. It's become it has unbelievable traction. It's become so popular. So it's really fun to see. And then we have the Mountain Selection Barbera, and this is all DTC. I'm hoping, talk with Sally, that we could also get, it'll be good to get the wholesale and distributor numbers, because that's going to change this a lot. We're going to see a lot more of the red labels, the Mountain Selections on this chart. The GS Zin is also, that's one of the new wines we made for the wine club. It's a wine club only wine. And so that showed some nice growth. The Reserve Syrah is doing well. If you haven't tried it, it's going to be in your shareholder cases, but it is phenomenal. And we got like, I think 93 points on it. And then the Petite Syrah is even in the mix as well. So these are what the tasting rooms are looking like so far this year too, in the last 3 years through May. This is, you could see the winery. The winery is just on fire. We have some fantastic salespeople, tasting room associates there. They are just amazing. So that is really keeping that going. Sutter Creek is struggling. It's not even back to 2019 standards. And Sugar Mill, I think we just started in 19 around April. So and so it didn't have much of a chance, but now it's almost doing better. It's only open 2 days a week and almost doing better than our in Sutter Creek, which is open 6 days a week. So we're continually trying to think of new ways to get that going a little bit better. I think what we need is really strong manager there in that area. So now we're going to get into the data. And one of the things I put on my thing last year was I really wanted to become more data driven. And so that's the area the industry is going. They're finally catching up to other industries with data. And so we're so much more able to analyze our business. And so we're testing this is only the dashboard. This is called Analytics. It's a brand new program. We're testing it for free this month, and get an idea of we want to continue. And it has many components. They give us training and work us through. But this is what I get every day. Will come in automatically. But I'm sure you can see lots of green there. So this is for, it always shows you what's happening now versus the past period. So it's I could become obsessed with this. There's so much we could do with it. This is another data point that we look at. This is a company that, this is really valuable. They go to different regions around of the state, and not even the state, they're up in Washington too. And what they do is they get wineries, to sign up, and they show us how we're doing against our peers, other wineries in the same region. In addition to that, they show us how our region is showing up against maybe Walla Walla or Sonoma and Paso Robles. And that's always interesting too. This is just their dashboard. It goes down into many more things too, to really dive into it. I just didn't mean to do that. I just want to make sure you all see all those greens. And so we're doing really well. If anybody wants to see any of these in detail, just let me know and I can send it to you in the PDF. But we're doing amazingly well. With our not our competition, I have to say our friends in Amador. So that's really going well. This is our new wine club manager for this year. She is amazing. She's fantastic. We are so lucky to have her. Her name's Amanda. So competent. And, as you all know, we've been struggling. It's a struggle up here in Amador, and right now everywhere else, as a matter of fact. But she just she does it with such ease. And you can see, look at our wine club signups from so far this year, 442. That's amazing. Now that is coming from the winery mostly. We have 2 people there that also are amazing, and they're just signing up people like crazy. We almost have 1,800 wine club members, And they've told me they think we're going to have 2,000 by the end of summer. That's their goal. So, and luckily we have Amanda who is able to handle this, because it's getting to be a lot to handle when you have this many wine club members. So, so that's exciting. So I don't want, we've been focusing on the direct to consumer, the DTC. So I don't want to leave Matty out. I think most of you, maybe a lot of you, met him last year. He was his first year, and he gave a nice presentation. He's a veteran, an industry veteran, and we are so lucky to have him. And he's tenacious. He last year was so difficult for him to try to get some distributors when nobody was the least bit interested, or, you know, and the restaurants are shut down. So he just stayed with us, kept at it. And I have to say, and he's doing this for not a lot of money either. So we started the year losing a couple of distributors. Our distributor in California went bankrupt. The Colorado, they're downsizing. But we quickly have these direct accounts right here in California. We have all the Rayleigh's chain, which is a great chain. We have Save Mart. We're in a few Total Wines. And we, while we're continuing to look for smaller distributors, and wine.com has been great. We've sold hundreds of cases already to just wine.com over the internet. We finally got a new distributor in May in Florida, and he was working so hard on that. And they bought 2 pallets for starters, and they're excited about our wines, and they're excited about Tickle Me Pink. And we always thought Tickle Me Pink would be just perfect for the Florida market. So, you know, we're going to see how they do. And then just yesterday, well, this happened, you know, obviously signed up a wine group for Northern California. It's a brokerage. It's called Astoria. They have an excellent reputation. We did a kickoff yesterday with the group, and they also have Rombauer. So, and we look at that as a real positive, because everybody wants Rombauer. And so they're going to, they're going to be able to get entrance into any account they want with that in their book. So this is the other, and was also, so if there's any questions, you can stop me or raise your hand or something, but
or use the chat.
Or use the chat. Yes, thanks, Scott. But we'll have questions in a little bit too. This was making Matty crazy, because he was so frustrated. We have all 6 90+ reviews from wine enthusiasts. And he goes, this is unheard of. You know, like I said, he's an industry veteran and he knows it. So, and he's going, how could a distributor not want to take us with 6 90-point reviews? And yet he was struggling to get it. But again, he did manage on Florida, and now as Astoria. So excellent, good for him. These are some of the trends and challenges we're coming across this year. We really continually need to look for selling wine more outside of the tasting rooms. As you can see, what happened last year, you know, so we had a lot of eggs in one basket, and that was scary, but we did pivot pretty quickly, and that really worked well for us. So we did get a couple of COVID, what's the word? Help. A couple things, benefits from the COVID. You know, when we had to go to appointment tasting only, that's why we're getting all these wine club signups, because there's more interaction with the customer, and you just have they have a better experience. It's so much better than bailing up to the bar. And this is going to be, I think, for most wineries, the future, because we've all realized that this has just been fantastic. Tips. Now the winery associates are making a fortune now in tips. It's become really a large source of income. So far through today, or yesterday actually, I saw that we our tips, our associates have gotten $41,000 so far this year in tips. And when I
Oh.
tell people this, they don't even know about tipping. So I mean, we're, in this, we never tipped before, right? I mean, we always felt, oh, we need to go to what you call it, the new people all tip, but all of us in the past, never tipped.
So what's happened is when the people put in their order and they enter it in the computer, once it's done, a tip screen comes up and the salesperson swings or hands the computer pad or whatever to the customer, and then they can tip if they want to. There's no tip on different percentages. And what's happened is there's so many salespeople that we tried to get to learn how to sell, how to get that fire in their belly of closing. And this tip thing is what's done it for them. All of a sudden they see they get this excitement because of the tip they're getting, and it's turned them into salespeople.
Yeah. So I already mentioned the new channel that we got from COVID, but now we are struggling. We're really struggling to find employees, and obviously it's always been a struggle in Amador. Now it's even worse because everybody's stuck. And Napa Valley wineries are giving sign-up bonuses to get people. That's how bad it is. And the hotels in Napa are like half opened because they can't find staff. So I think this is happening all over the country, and it's hopefully this is going to slow down or change somewhere along the line. But I think when people, these associates start hearing about these tips, I would think that's going to draw some people back into the tasting rooms. And one of the challenges, even with our 90+ scores, it's still difficult to get distributors. So but when we have somebody like Maddie, it's going to happen. So we're excited about that. There's a couple of questions here in the chat. It's so what percentage do we pay to the distributors? We don't pay a percentage. They get a FOB, a lower cost. So it's the margins are about 50%, I'd say, right, Sally? Or
The margins hover around 50%. They could be a little bit lower.
yeah.
I mean, our margins are lower, but our expenses are lower with trade.
So look at it this way. When we sell wine to a distributor, it's usually at 50% of retail. The distributor turns around and adds their cost of shipping and taxes and so forth, and they have their laid-in cost, and then they mark it up and sell it at about a 25% profit, 35% on the wine, or 25% on sale, and then the store marks it up. So the store ends up paying getting twice what we sold it for. So that's how the 3-tier system works. When we sell to our accounts or to people in the tasting room, we're selling at full retail. There may be some discounts if they're wine club members. And then, of course, we have the cost of running the store, running the tasting room, which might be 25% or 30%. So you're still ending up with a bigger contribution to bottom line with direct sales than you are. We used to figure it'd take 4 cases through the distributors to make the same contribution to bottom line that 1 case makes out of the tasting room.
So another one is how many cases are we selling? And that's also something I never really know offhand, because so much of our information comes in dollars. But analytics, that dashboard I just showed you, I do know that up until today, yesterday, we sold 2,411 cases in direct to consumer, and that's through the tasting rooms. So I don't know. The distributor part of it, I'd have to get that from Sally. And then Dick said he thinks, that for Sutter Creek, it's either poor location or poor manager. Well, the location, I don't know if you mean the location of our tasting room in Sutter Creek, but that's not the greatest now either, since all the activity in restaurants are down at the other end. But it's such a cute town. It's just darling. And I don't understand, we're constantly trying to get people to come to that town. It's the cutest thing in the foothills. So
Could I ask one question?
Yeah.
This is Doug Canepa. And
Doug, there, hi.
Hi. And I just wondered, I'm in the wine profession as a retailer. And to go back to the topic of distributors, to add something to your discussion, but what do distributors bring that you cannot do? In the sense, can you get wider distribution, statewide? If your majority of your sales are out of your tasting room, that's all good. But a distributor can get you wider statewide distribution or maybe regional distribution. Is that a benefit that's not really being discussed here?
Well, it is a benefit, and but I am discussing it. I mean, that's why we have Maddie, and we finally got somebody that he's been doing this for years and years. He's excellent at it, and he is, through the years, I know a lot of people we always felt that we needed distribution to sell a brand, and but it hasn't been easy the way things changed for us, not for us, but for the market, that, smaller producers like ourselves have difficulty. It's the big boys that are in most of the distribution. And believe me, he has been trying very hard to get some new distributors. He's constantly on it. And that's why Florida was so important. And he's working so hard on New York, working on Texas, really want to get back in Texas. It's not that something that we don't want to do. It's just, we've got to keep the company going until we get to do it, because it's giving us revenue while we're looking, to increase our distribution.
Well, I completely recognize that and acknowledge what you're saying. But the issues of why distributors are perhaps reluctant to pick up a particular winery, in this case, Scott Harvey Wines, that needs to be examined. Why aren't they picking it up? And I have my theories. I've been working with you guys for a long, long, long time.
Right.
I'm in the business for a long time. But I just, in the big picture of creating a winery that's going to be sold in the future, that's what's driving, at least where I'm coming from. And I just want to see movement in that direction. And
well, we're trying. I mean, believe me. And I think the leadership team would agree with that, because we talk about it every week. We have every week we have a Monday morning meeting, and go over all these goals that we have. And he's trying hard, and he doesn't understand it, but he doesn't understand it either. He says he thinks we have everything put in place that a distributor would want. And he worked with Young's, he worked with all kinds of distributors. He's worked in the industry for 30 some years, and he was knocking his head against the wall, wondering why has it been so hard? He loves our story. He says we have a story to tell. We have, we're a real winery with a real story and real people, so with all the other big wineries out there. And now we have these points, huh?
Have them talk to me. Have them
Okay.
call.
All right, I will. Doug, I'll make a note of that, and yeah, it'd be great. Maybe you could give him some thoughts on it. We'd appreciate that.
Does Manny have any theories as to why that has not happened yet?
Well, I mean, well, first of all, it's, we just had this catastrophe happen. And so a lot of the distributors right now are just trying to get their act together after a devastating year. So he just started a little over a year ago, I think.
It was December of 19.
Yeah, so he started in a terrible time.
And then,
Yeah, he only had a few months, and then we had COVID. So,
Right.
yes.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think it'd be great for you guys to get together and talk, and we'll and see if he could, give you some answers. So why it's not happening, but he's trying, believe me.
Or we'll get some answers, or get some recommendations from Doug. I know,
Yeah.
I know Doug does well with the Winemakers Reserve, and he's always helped guide us into making a wine more of that style, which has more wide market appeal. And so working on that, I think, is one of the positive things that's come from Doug's help.
Scott, I wanted to pass out to the group that Vermentino, I think you got a real winner there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Style,
But
that is the style that people are clamoring for.
Yeah.
You captured it. It was lovely. And
Thanks.
I would encourage you.
Yeah, we're trying to make more, but we don't have a solidified vineyard source for that yet. Yeah.
But that was a winner.
believe me, Doug, we love it. I'm a Sauvignon Blanc fan, and that became my new favorite wine. I love that Vermentino. And I keep asking Scott, did you find some yet? And what, you don't have any going yet for this year, right, Scott?
No.
Yeah, I know. But I agree. It's a fabulous wine. Okay, let's see. Let me get the chats going. Zach has, that a lot of the Sacramento market is shifted to the winery rather than Sutter Creek. And
yeah, it's there is a cannibalization of Sutter Creek, because people that used to go there when we didn't have the winery are now coming to the winery.
But that cute little town is the perfect place for event kind of things. If we could partner with maybe one of the B&Bs or something there to advertise for events, for group events, book clubs, crafting groups. I'm just thinking about different things that people do when they get together. And if we could maybe put together some sort of a wine tasting event along with that, with perhaps a discounted rate to stay at one of the B&Bs that are right along in there, maybe that will be something that draws people into the town itself and into our winery.
yeah, well, we do have we have a company an organization called Wine on 49. And so we do events and things. It'd be great to do, for a year we haven't really been able to do much, but yeah, we work on trying to get more people coming into that town. Doug, you have something else?
Well, I just want to talk again about canned wine. That is here to stay, and it's booming. And I'm just curious if you're exploring, but that could be later on in this meeting. I don't know when you want to talk about new product ideas.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about it now. I mean, we definitely are interested in cans, and we think Tickle Me Pink would be fun in can. For sure.
And then it's just light picnic type beverages, either white or the rosé. And
yeah,
that field is expanding, and people are selling very, very well.
We've been checking into it, Doug, and Jan is more excited about it than I am on the production end. And the biggest hindrance for us so far has been the minimum order of
Yeah.
things. Yeah. And so we don't want to get stuck with too much of a wine that gets old before we
Yeah.
move it out. So, but Tickle Me Pink is gaining the legs to have the volume that we can get that minimum order and make it work.
Okay.
Dick, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Doug especially, or anyone in the sales business, how important the California name is in the fine print. What I'm wondering is, would American be okay? Would it be acceptable? Or would it make any difference? And the reason I ask that is that if we could change Tickle Me Pink to American instead of California, that would allow Scott to buy some Concord wine, juice or wine, but wine preferably, from Washington, which is, there's plenty of it up there. And he could increase the amount of Concord in the Tickle Me Pink. It doesn't have to be a lot. It should never be more than 5%, I would say. But right now it's probably 1% or even less. I'd like to get it up to 2.5 or 3%. And I wonder what that would do to the market.
Personally, in a can application, I don't think it matters. I think it would be fine. It's really about that age group. They don't want to discuss wine. They don't want to analyze it. They just want to have a refreshing beverage. And they're not, I don't think they're particularly conscientious about the appellation. So
well,
I think
that's what makes me think it would be worthwhile, because I think Tickle Me Pink could explode if it just had a little bit more Concord in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's the important thing with cans is it's not a 12-ounce can. I think it's an 8-ounce can. A tall, narrow can is more popular than a 12-ounce can.
Mhm.
So it's an 8-ounce, and the graphics are very, very important.
I'm not really discussing cans here, because I think Tickle Me Pink should not be in cans anyway. It's got such a terrific label and such a terrific look in the bottle but I mean specifically for the bottle, would American be okay in the fine print instead of California?
In that sense, I think it's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know, Dick. Thanks.
Now
Okay.
that music festivals have begun opening up again, I think those canned beverages are going to be, there's a whole new young demographic that we can bring into the wine family through those music festivals. I think through the canned beverages, I think that's going to be a huge market for us, potential market.
Yeah. Yeah, what Dick was talking about is we'll need to double our production on Tickle Me Pink next year. We have all the Concord grown in the state now, and we'll need more Concord, and you can't just plant a vineyard and pick it the next year. So we'll have to source from Washington State.
I can't think.
I saw it.
Huh?
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll take some blood pressure medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
So Jan is not feeling real well, so
Oh dear.
let's hope everything's okay. But let's move on to Sally and the financials.
Okay, well, we made it through 2020. And actually we made it through 2020. This is a story that many people keep asking me questions of why am I not applying for that special restaurant program. We made through 2020 making $9,000 more than we made in 2019 in gross revenue. They base all these additional programs on gross revenue. And you have to have made less in 2020, at least in one quarter, sometimes more than one quarter, than you did in 2019. We have one quarter of 2020 where we made 25%, 25.2% less than we made in 2019. That means we did so well in trying to make sure that we kept our sales up that we're sort of being penalized in a lot of these programs related to COVID because we made too much money. So anyway, that's sort of the good and bad news. We made it through 2020 with a $90,000 net income, but that's because we got $116,000 in our payroll protection loan, which got forgiven and became down at the bottom some other income. I'm just amazed that we survived it so well. I mean, the whole thing with the virtual tasting, we didn't start virtual tastings until like, I think it was July or even August of last year. And while 60,000 isn't that much when we're aiming for $2 million, 60,000 got us through and gave us $60,000 worth of income that we wouldn't have had if we didn't have the virtual tasting. Jana already approached the thing that our internet sales went through the roof in 2020 because nobody could go out. And so our internet sales this year are back more in line with our 2019 internet sales. Now that people can at least go to stores and stuff. But the big news, I think, is 2021. My financials only went through April. They don't match Jana's who go through May. But still, in that time, the first 4 months of 2021, our bottom line is almost $100,000 more than it was in the first 4 months of 2020. Now, we didn't shut down until there's a month and a half of 2020 where we were shut down, and also almost all sales stopped except for internet because of the fact that distributors weren't buying, wholesales weren't buying because the restaurants were all closed. And so, and our tasting rooms were closed. But still, that 100,000 gain for the first 4 months of this year is due a lot more to other things than it is to, related to COVID. As we get farther in the year, we'll be making more money, but we made a lot less money in 2020. We also have gotten through with, we've been operating without debt since 2006, except for our line of credit, which would go up and down. And we've got debt now because we got the SBA economic disaster loan. And we also got, we were able to get a second payroll protection loan because of that one quarter. The second quarter, we were able to qualify for that. And so we got another $125,000 from that. Those are not sitting in income yet. Until I get that payroll protection loan forgiven, that 125 is sitting as a debt and will go into income once it's forgiven. But so far, things are costing more. Jana alluded to the fact that we're having trouble finding staffing. People just aren't taking jobs again yet, although I expect that to change when they finally institute the, right now, people in unemployment don't have to be out looking for a job, but they will have to starting in July. And so people are making probably as much as they've made working in the tasting room on unemployment without having to work. But our compensation is more expensive this year because we've had to, people didn't want to come to work for $13 an hour. We've had to pay them more. We luckily haven't had a lot of increases in some of our, our rents, our occupancy cost. What is going through the roof is also shipping cost. That's the shippers, UPS cost have gone up, FedEx has gone up, our wine transport fees have gone up. That's really rising this year. But even with those increased costs, we're still holding a very good bottom line based on that. So I don't know if anybody read the financials, and without Jana here, I don't know, other than you just talking, if you're not muted, how we get questions back and forth. I'm sorry. So I don't know if anybody has a question. I think you're just going to have to unmute and ask it if you do. Okay.
I'm assuming that the increase in compensation and benefits is due to the fact that we're open now and so we have more people on staff.
We have more staff, but we're also having to pay them more.
Okay.
And Jana alluded to tips. That doesn't ever show up as our expense. Even though we collect it and we put it through payroll, that's not an expense. It's just,
Okay.
So that's not in there, but it is a combination of more people back working. And also we've had to give raises, because if you bring someone in at $15 an hour and you've had someone working for a year and a half at $15 an hour, we've got to give them at least 50 cents more than the new person, you know. So,
Right.
you know, that's part of that too. Also, we have that compensation includes our two people who are not really on payroll. We have, you met them at last year's meeting. The Maddie, our national sales rep, is in there, but he's as a independent contractor, as is Brian, our chef. And now also we can have events. We couldn't have events last year, so we're using the chef more. Anybody else have a question? And then we can probably just talk amongst ourselves, because I'm at, see, Scott's probably gone to help Jana. And I think the next thing we're supposed to talk about is production, which would be Scott.
Sally,
Mhm.
how much do we revenue generate from the events? Like when Brian is cooking, and how does that come into, and what percentage does that add to our revenue?
I don't know percentage wise, but when he does an event, we are going to have more people at the tasting room that day. We actually sell a ticket. Our wine club members, I don't think, we're shareholders, don't have to pay the price for a ticket to come to one of the events, but we get more people in. And he tries to do the taste pairing so that we've got a white wine, and then we have a medium, like one of our mountain selection wines, and then we have an expensive wine. And he tends to make the pairing tasting with the 1869 a more delicious pairing than he might do with the mountain selection. So we get higher by, it's not just higher volume sales, but it's also, we get higher, our higher priced wines tend to sell.
Okay, but we also generate an income from the actual ticket sales, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Have we evaluated that? Like
we do each event. Each event has a report that we put out, which shows the total income that was, you know, in sales. And sometimes our staff is very good at bringing those sales through the event key on the cash register, and sometimes they aren't as good as that. So, but we then sit down with the tasting room staff and say, okay, of the people who were buying, we backtrack into those people who were at the event and paid a ticket compared to the other people. And then we price it out, including the cost of the wine that was sold, including and the income, the ticket price. We usually have to have an extra staffing person, you know, so we try to figure out whether they're making money. Exactly. And we use that the next time. If we find out what is costing us too much that we're not making the money, then we try to adapt for the next event. Right. But the events do produce a positive bottom line in and of themselves. And when people see bunches of people at your place enjoying themselves and more cars in the parking lot, more people come in.
So this is Maynard, and I was at the winery maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was great. Just a couple comments, and it goes along with what's already been said. Was there were more people there than could be adequately serviced. And the other thing, there's nothing you can do about that. When the other thing I found when I was there is that the internet service is poor, I was told, because they couldn't complete sales, and they were sort of handing people their wine, and then they took their information, and they said they'd put it in the computer when they got back online. And then I talked to the person who was great, and he said that this is a common occurrence, but it's not just for Scott Harvey Winery, it's for people in that area. So that seemed to have it had a big impact on people trying to check out and complete their purchases, and they were standing around trying to deal with the computer glitch when people were waiting to kind of get serviced. So there's nothing you can do about that. But just a comment. Then I was in Napa just a couple days ago, and I would reiterate, the place I stayed was it's normally a really good looking place, but the grounds were pretty bad and unkept, which is kind of embarrassing to me. Second is, we went to dinner in Napa, and the restaurants it was Tuesday, the first day they opened up, and they were pretty packed, sort of. But when we went into the restaurants, even like Torque and others, just to see if they had an opening, because we didn't make a reservation, there were lots of empty tables, but they said they were full and they couldn't make any reservation. This was really a common event, and we tried about 6 different restaurants, and they had huge amounts of open space, but but they were full, they said. And then we did find a place, and that worked out okay. But then we went to tasting rooms on Wednesday, and the same thing was there, where there was almost no cars in the parking lot, and you would go in, and they're all reservation by reservation. One is sometimes nobody would answer the phone, and then you would go in, and there would be all these, and there'd be like 2 people in there, or 2 tables taken out of 8 or 10, and it was one after another was this way, and they would said that their reservations were full, and you're looking around, and it's hard to imagine that. When we stopped at Clos de Vol, which I hadn't been to for a long time, and Clos de Vol, we went in there, and this lady came. She said, "I'm the only one in the whole facility now, and we can't, even though it looks empty, we can't have it."
Maynard, can I cut you off for a
Oh,
second?
sure.
Yeah. Jana is having a high blood pressure event, and I'm going to take her to the hospital.
Oh, no.
Completely confused and doesn't know what's going on. So a couple of things on the agenda. We'll let Sally, hopefully you can take over. I
can't do the production, sorry.
Yeah, I can't do the production. The winery's running well. We've made Molly winemaker, and I've changed my title to executive winemaker, and she's doing a great job. The purchase of the Spinetta winery is something we're looking at. We're in the position of doing pro formas and seeing if it makes financial sense or not. So if we decide to go forward, we will develop a new business plan, and we will develop the pro formas, and then we will send all the information to each of you via email to look at, and then and when we're ready to call for a vote, we'll call for a vote, which is a vote per share.
Take care of Jana. We can deal with this later.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
And then
Not important enough. Get out of here.
Sally, you can elect the new board, which is the same as the last board. So
Right. And also, I think we'll reschedule the board meeting to when
Yeah.
you all are back. It's just the board meeting.
Oh, yeah, board meeting afterwards.
Okay, I'm sorry. We have to have a board meeting to elect the officers, but then we'll not do any other business. Okay. Yeah, the production is going very well. This is another little caveat that happened last year, which you all probably didn't know about, but when COVID hit, we were scheduled 2 to 4 weeks later to do a huge bottling. But when COVID hit and we weren't seeing we were going to have any income, we just canceled bottling last year until we got it's EDIL, which I think is Economic Injury Disaster Loan or something, small business. As soon as we got the loan, we were able to schedule bottling. This year, we've been able to do bottling on the reasonable basis. In other words, we were able to do our big May bottling, and then we're going to do our big, another big bottling. I think it's in July, which will get us all bottled and ready for harvest. So production is going much more smoothly this year than last year, only because we can stick to a schedule. I don't know if anybody had any questions about possible purchase of the Spinetta winery.
What is that all about? What is Spinetta, and what's the appeal of it, and what's the purpose of going after something like that?
Okay, Charlie Spinetta is actually a shareholder. He has a winery in Amador County, which is about maybe a half to 3/4 of a mile further out than we are with our current facility. It's an excellent production facility. I mean, we can produce all of our wine there and not have to be storing it at other places or producing it at other places. And so it's got an actual licensed commercial kitchen. Anyway, so that we've been negotiating probably since we started with him about possible pricing and stuff like that. We're now actually working with a small business bank who gives small business mortgages to try to, in fact,
do they produce any? Do they produce a label, and will you maintain?
Yes.
Oh, will you maintain the label?
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have answered so quickly.
Sally, we will maintain a certain amount of the sweet wines that he's making, but the label will change.
Okay. See, and then we will, but we're just in the preliminary stages right now.
Okay.
So because the last we heard was, or at least I heard, was that you were going to buy the current winery that we're in, and that was in negotiations with that. So then, does the owner of the winery we're currently in know that we're looking at another winery? We're not going to have two wineries, I think.
No, we won't have two wineries. We may have some overlap in being in both locations until we get fully moved. It depends on when, it depends on if and when we might purchase another location.
So that was lacking in the first description. So the idea is if you do purchase this, you would move your operation to that facility.
Yes, because it is large enough to handle all of the production, all of the storage, and
you would walk away from your current location.
Right. We have, our current landlord has not changed one iota on how much he wants for the property. The current location, we would have to build another production facility. I forget how many cases he made, but he probably made less than 500 cases a year. And that's what that production facility is best at. We, in order to make all of our wine, we need to construct another building. We'd need to improve the septic system. We'd need to, I don't know, I had a list of 6 things that we'd have to cost out, how much it would cost us to do those things in order to have that facility work for us and be able to do all of our production there.
Todd also mentioned last time I saw him that there were some fairly significant problems with the building itself that
Oh yes. We had to, our tasting room, a section of the wall fell off inside the tasting room. And so when we got into that, there was mold and all sorts of issues. I mean, the landlord had to pay for things, but if it was there in that corner, chances are it's in other places as well. So, I mean, what we'd have to do, I mean, we can't afford to buy that place for $3 million and then have to spend $1.5 million getting it in shape and getting it to the size that we need to do our production there. So, you know, I cannot say, because I don't know, that Scott hasn't continued talking to him, but I think he's been telling him about how that facility doesn't really work for us in its current condition.
Sally, this is Dick.
I did.
I want to inject something here, that caution on this. Charlie Spinetta always thinks that his building is worth a whole lot of money. I guarantee it isn't. The other thing I guarantee is that the quickest way to kill your wine business is to put out a lot of money into a facility. And that's over and over and over again from decades. It's been true. The wineries that succeed, well, first of all, the wineries that fail, it has nothing to do with whether their wines are good, whether their wines are bad, whether their wines are overpriced or not. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is, if they got into the business cheap, they succeeded. If they got into the business expensive, by that I mean if you build a big winery first and then start making wine, you will fail absolutely. And in this company, it seems to me, Charlie he's a good talker and so on, but it isn't worth what he wants for it. And I would think this, and here's how I would vote. If we were considering buying his winery, as far as I'm concerned, it would be, the conditions would be this. We don't pay a dime for the first 10 years. We don't pay a dime for the first 10 years. After that, we start paying, because that's the way the business runs. We can't afford to. Doug, you have a question? No?
No.
Oh, I saw Doug's name come on. I thought he had something to insert.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I've pretty much covered that, what I think.
Yeah, I saw somebody else's name come on that they left. So, Doug's still here. Did you have something to say, Doug? You're muted. You're still muted. I don't know.
You know, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I don't know what that was about.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that was the point I wanted to make, that's been proven over and over and over again in the wine business. And I've seen many, many people fail who had really good wine and good prices, but they failed anyway. And I've seen a lot of people succeed when their wines were lousy.
Well, I think that's why I want to emphasize it's in the preliminary stages. We're still running pro formas, and if they don't look good, then I don't think the board's going to allow this to continue. I think that we had been, I think it was at last year's shareholders meeting, or maybe it was at a board meeting, where in fact we were supposed to be looking into buying the current facility, and that wasn't proceeding. And I think Scott wanted to have something that we are looking at finding someplace, or maybe just to use this buying from Charlie Spinetta to force the hand of the current landlord. But you know, so far, I'm just saying we're in really, really preliminary investigation of the possibility. So don't drive over there and think we're going to be there.
And I would add one thing, Sally, and I like what Dick had to say, and I appreciate what you're saying. Doing the due diligence that we need to do to make a wise, informed decision, and keeping the shareholders involved in that, I think, is a great idea. So I look forward to seeing the results of the scenario planning and the different analysis that you guys do. That'd be really helpful to us as shareholders before we vote. So thank you.
And I think that basically, rather than just saying, yeah, it all looks good, we should go ahead, and it all looks bad, we're not going ahead, we should share with you why it's either one of those options, because it's and this, I also don't know how to do a vote on the board of directors without Jana there with the vote coming up. But currently the slate would be exactly the same as it was last year. It's Scott, Jana, myself, Justin Phillips, who also, Maynard, is helping us look into the internet issue that we're having. Then it's Jake Gerolani, Jason Hughes, Dick Peterson, and who am I forgetting? Those of you on the board.
Was Pooch on the board?
Pooch is, yeah, and Pooch. I'm gonna just, if you give me just a second. Okay, I'm writing down to make sure I have the right number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the 8. So I don't know. I have, if this doesn't work and we can all vote, but I'm not seeing everybody who's on the thing. I guess I should ask if someone doesn't want those 8 people on the board, can you unmute yourself and let me know?
Hey, Sally, my suggestion would be, why don't you have people just go into the chat and type in yay or nay? It'll be recorded that way.
Okay.
You'll have a written vote then.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. So if everybody can just go into the chat and do yes or no, that would be.
Is this a board member vote or is this a shareholder vote?
Shareholders have to vote the board in.
Okay.
So it is a shareholder.
What am I doing wrong? I can't figure out how to vote here.
Did you
open up chat? Open up chat. Open up the chat at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I see. Okay, chat. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you chat.
Okay, now I got it.
Okay. I've got nine votes. Somebody, okay, there's the chat. There we go. Okay. I turned off my cell phone, but I didn't turn off my landline because nobody calls. So,
well,
okay, it looks like
my
we
chat,
have.
but I can't vote. Put me down.
I'll
for
put
yes
you down
votes.
for. Okay, I can do that. Anybody else need me to put you down for something if you can't get to the chat? Okay. Okay, and as for the board members, I think we're probably just going to have
Dave
to have.
Utter, yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a feeling we're going to just have to not have the board meeting today, and
Yes.
no, we're supposed to have one after a shareholders meeting, but we'll schedule it for as soon as we can.
It might be done by email even, huh? Later.
Yeah, it could be. I could send an email out and ask you to vote for the officers and get it back. I also have to have the board members vote on one more thing. You have to accept the fact that we have a small business administration loan. Don't know why, it's just one of their requirements. So why don't I send it to the board officers, and I got to get a yes on the small business loan. Okay.
Is the yes on the small business line? Is it? Is that shareholders or board?
No, that's the board. Both of the things I just said are just for the board.
Okay.
Okay. So unless somebody has something else that I can answer, remembering I only know the ones my side of the business. Then can somebody move to adjourn?
So moved.
And who was that?
Seconded.
Okay, who moved?
Dick.
Dick, and who second?
Justin.
Maynard. Oh, Justin. Okay.
Justin? Okay. Okay. All in favor to
Aye.
end the meeting?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Anybody? Okay. Well, it was great
Aye.
seeing you all, and I'm sure we'll let you know what's going on with Jana as soon as we know.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, please
Have
do.
a
Please
great
do.
rest.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.
Bye.
Please.
There we go.
Bye.